Hey y'all, what is up? I just thought it would be super important that every time I get on camera, I'm fixing myself. But anyway, I thought it would be super important to just check in with you all, kind of do just a check in and just shoot the shit, for a little bit. But I do want to talk about something that I feel like we need to talk about, like all of us within this community that we've built. And that is, can we just admit that the world as we know it, how it's been created, orchestrated, formulated, built, developed, I don't know, it's all fucked up. It really is. I was just thinking, so for instance, yesterday I was out and I was hanging out at not a truck stop, but a gas station. I guess a truck stop. Yeah, what am I talking about? I was at the gas station, a truck stop. And I'm sitting there and I'm playing because there was a bunch of tornadoes that had touched down around my area. So, and we were under tornado warning. So I'm inside the building, kind of peeking out the window to see if the wind starts picking up and stuff starts looking weird. I'm just hanging out there, and so I'm playing the notification, the video and stuff like that I'm listening to, and just different people came by and was like, we was just striking up conversation about what was going on. And then I had the chance to speak to another lady who is just so ironically, like we're like several states away, but she and I ended up being from the same city, and we were just talking about different things about that. And I was just thinking about how easy it was for all of us. I probably talked to like 4 different people while I was sitting there. And how easy it was for all of us to have a conversation with one another, to be kind to one another, to be considerate of one another. And it was like, I just thought to myself, like, this is how life, the world should be. And I also thought about how when we often leave those situations, because we have that, what we call small talk. But sometimes small talk turns into a real conversation with people. And how that can happen and occur, and then you leave and you go back to your home, or you go back to your job, or you get on the road and you're driving or whatever, someone makes you mad in traffic or whatever. Or you have a bad interaction with someone at work or the grocery store, and how we easily revert back to treating everybody like they're our diehard enemy. And it's just like, why does it have to be that way? Like, I literally be thinking about stuff like, why does it have to be that way? Why do we have to consider what our racial backgrounds are? Why do we have to keep that in the forefront of how we move through life and who we would choose to spend time with, who we can hang out with? Why is that an issue? Why do people, and it's mostly our structure, our foundation. I feel like this stuff has been forced upon us. And I know there's a whole conspiracy or idea, theology, whatever you want to call it, theory, that it's the establishment, the establishment, or the powers that be, or whatever people call it these days, that orchestrated that and keep that into place so that we can stay fighting one another and distracted with the propaganda and the schemes and the games that they play, so that we don't really figure out, like, hey, you know what? We got like just a few people up top. It's like millions, if not billions of us. And there's only a few people up top that are benefiting from keeping us fighting for scraps with this whole scarcity mindset, which scarcity, I believe, is created. I don't think there is actual scarcity. I believe it's something that's created. I truly do. I believe there's enough food to feed the entire world and keep us all fat and plump. I believe there's plenty of resources to keep clean water going. There's plenty of other ways to produce energy that we don't have to rely on nuclear energy, and we don't have to rely on coal. And so the scarcity is created so that the rest of us feel like we have to stay focused on fighting each other, instead of being like, hey, I'm sick of the up top that is making my life miserable. For instance, I remember the reason why I like this job so much, because I remember being at a job, and it makes me so upset, and it gets me kind of choked up, because it's like, I felt like I was stuck at that job, and I tried everything to get out of that job. But I remember being at a job where if I had to take a personal day to take care of my family, take care of myself, I had to literally feel like little old me was going to cause the entire company to crumble to the ground, because I had to take a personal day to take care of myself or my family. And I remember there were several times when my husband had gotten sick, and I remember feeling like, oh gosh, he's got this going on. And it's like, why should I be frustrated with him because he's getting sick? Because I'm afraid of what I have to deal with at work because I have to be gone. It's like, to me, that was effing insane. And I got to the point where it was like, I was like, I don't know what job I'm going to get, so if I have to get out of here, because I knew that was not normal to feel frustrated with my spouse because they get sick, because I got to be afraid of dealing with the consequence of having to take off from a job. And yeah, we all have to work in some sense, which is okay. And I honestly think this is what just blows my mind. People try to sell this whole idea when you talk about not working, that, oh, people are just lazy and they don't want to work. Some people are just lazy. They just don't want to do anything. They're unmotivated, whatever. But I believe that inherently, most of us like to have a purpose. We like to have a reason to get up every day and put one foot in front of the other. And what work might look like to you will be work. That type of work will look different to someone else. One person might enjoy it while the other person might hate it, and they don't want to be bothered with it. And I think if we all had something that we enjoyed doing, or even sort of felt fulfilled in doing, it wouldn't even be like a work thing. But I feel like we're in a type of society, foundation. I'm trying to figure out the right word for it. That there's only certain jobs. And it's becoming more, I've noticed, you guys, with this AI stuff coming out and these big corporations getting away with just laying people off, not giving even any severance, the more power we give these big corporations, the more they will suck up and take. And we're getting to the point where there's very few options for us to find work. So we're kind of in a lot of times we are so desperate that we do find ourselves fighting for scraps, because the situation we've been put in is so desperate. And we're at these jobs and we're feeling like every coworker is your op. Your coworker is your op. And a lot of times, unfortunately, they are, because if they could throw you on the bus to save their behind, they will definitely do it. And that's so sickening. It's like, it's a job, and you're willing to send the other person up the creek, knowing that the situation is not fair or right. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't see anything wrong. And I think we need to start being more outspoken about, like, no, I don't want to work your job. Even though we know we have to. And that's unfortunate that we even have to work some of these jobs. But I think it's okay to be like, no, I don't want to work. You're probably going to go to work anyway, but it's okay to say you don't want to, and that you're sick of working, and that you're sick of things being the way that they are. Like, you guys, I think I'm bringing this up because I've noticed how increasingly desperate a lot of our financial situations, this economy is becoming. And I don't think there's a single person that I'm talking to in this video that does not know what I'm talking about. That's how desperate it is. I want to say not desperate, but I'm trying to think of the right word, because this is an extreme time, and I think we're at a point to be able to pivot, and we're not pivoting. We are being fed so much propaganda right now, and I feel like I can say this confidently because I have a political science background. But I've actually chose to pay attention to stuff, and I did learn a little bit something. I'm not an expert, but I did learn a little bit something about propaganda. And you guys, we're being fed, it's actually like nauseating the amount of propaganda we all are being fed right now. And when I see this, it makes me inherently know that, wow, the economy, our economic situation is way worse than I thought it was. Because we've been being fed all this propaganda. It's because I keep saying desperate, but for whatever reason, I can't figure out a better word right now. But they are so desperate in trying to keep their boots on our necks that they feel like they absolutely have to keep feeding us this propaganda. And I think they noticed a couple of years ago when we all had those little breaks from the C-19 and we were all at home, that we all were getting a little bit more, the word that they're weaponizing now, becoming a little bit more woke, that like they've decided to start weaponizing that word. And I almost feel like intentionally to say it as much as possible now, because they're trying to weaponize something that it is no point of weaponizing, or try to turn it into being something negative. But I think we all start thinking to ourselves like, wow, it is nice to work from my home and be in my own home environment. It is nice to be able to pick my kids up from school, take a break, do a little 30-minute break, lunch break, and I can go grab my kids from school real quick and come right back home. And I don't have to wait in hours of traffic. I can look after my own kids. I can look after an aging parent. I can take better care of my health because I'm at my own home. I can go to the local gym, or I can have my little gym set. We all were starting to become more self-sufficient, and people were building more communities and making connections. Even if they were online and social media, people were building more communities and making connections. And I feel like there was a concerted effort to be like, oh, hell no. We can't have that. We got to have these people fighting each other. We got to make people start being crazy over race, being crazy over their immigration status, being crazy over their political views. Like, we got to get people stirred up and start getting people out here to fight, because they're starting to really start looking at us and wanting to demand some sort of humanity from us. And we don't want that. We just want them to be little, let's say, like little cogs in the machine. And we were trying to loosen up out of that machine. And they was like, no, get back in the machine. Put all the cogs back in the machine. We need everybody to just do what the hell we tell them to do. Think how we tell them to think. And we just need them to keep feeding us money. And it reminds me of the scene in the movie Matrix, where there's a point where they showed everybody, and everybody was in these like little capsules or whatever you want to call it. And then these things were the big machines. They had stuck these like hoses or whatever into their like pots, and it was like just like keeping them alive, and they was like draining energy out of them. I feel like that's what we all are, and they keep doing it until we're like, you know. But yeah, can we start normalizing not being okay with how shit is? Can we just normalize that? Like, can we just all agree that it's fucked up? And can we all start understanding how devastating it is to walk around feeling like you got to be in battle or disagreement or in opposition to somebody? I got to be opposition because you're this political affiliation. I got to be in opposition to you because you're of this racial background. Oh, I got to look at you and wonder if you're a legal immigrant or not. Or if you don't have the same faith practices I have, or political, like me and you, we just ain't gonna get along. Like, that's trash, y'all. Like, it's literally trash. And we've all been fed, it's been shoved down our throats. And we just, to the point now, we're like, oh, let me go look for it and try to get some of this bullshit and eat on it, because it's the only way I'm going to get by in this life. Anyway, this is a long rant, so, yeah. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.